Hey everybody, I'm Andy Hoyne, and I'm here to talk to you about the way we, here at Hoyne, approach CGI. Now, CGI is clearly a really important image making process through the work that we all do in this industry, but there are different ways to approach it. And for me, it's very much about what we can do to ensure that there's a multidisciplinary approach to the way we think about CGI. That notion that it's not just an add-on, not just an image, but actually part of the creative process. Because when you actually make it part of the core creative team and not just a bit of execution at the end, that's when it becomes truly powerful. And why I think about this a lot is that the work that we do is very much about storytelling. It's about actually creating a narrative, about creating something that people can sort of engage with and get involved in and actually see connection to. Because visual images can be very emotional images. So to actually get the most out of them, we need to think, what can we do to differentiate and engage? So a couple of different things to flick through, some case studies of various jobs. This particular one from Central Park for Frasers. And this is a job where, Alice in Wonderland was the inspiration. That we actually started out with the product images, but we really focused into what the story was and how we would engage people, how we would take them on a journey, how this series of basic product images could become something so much more, that we could think about this idea of landscape, but then actually bring it to life with talent, with CGI, with real footage, and actually take it to that next step in the journey. Actually thinking about nighttime activation, the different way we could look at facades, that idea of actually going back to that core narrative so that every time people saw it, they actually felt a sense of excitement. How often do you look at a CGI that's actually trying to promote a piece of built form, in your apartment or a commercial office and smile? That's what we want. We want to actually engage people to come on the journey and actually, get a sense of joy, a sense of being a part of what the story is, and actually to sort of follow it through those different stages, to see it in execution, to see it come to life in a sales and display environment, or a brochure, or a bit of light rail, or a bit of press, and actually know that at the end of the day, you're actually delivering a commercial outcome. We actually work in an economic environment that we actually are trying to create artistic approaches to engage people to buy, to actually get involved in something, to register their interest, to invest, or to at least just visit and actually be a part of something exciting. And this is one of the many ways that it's done through this project. This next one with ARKADIA for DHA in Alexandria, incredible architecture by DKO and Breathe. But what it was about, again, connecting the dots, about ensuring that the different assets that we were actually creating were truly actually telling a story that we could bring to life in all forms of the campaign. So that meant thinking about, well, what does differentiate this? This fact that you've got these rooftop gardens that can actually directly connect to the livability of being a part of sort of this living environment in your kitchen. You can grow it upstairs, you can eat it downstairs. This connectedness, the fact that pets were welcome and you were across the road from this fantastic parkland at Sydney Park, that pets could live in your space, but directly outside they could be a part of this sort of green environment, this really living, breathing space that was a testament to what good architecture and good placemaking can be in residential. And then looking at this project, which we called EPICURE, because it was in this Italian neighbourhood of Leichhardt. And that we actually thought about, well, what can these spaces be? This wasn't just about creating a sort of image of the ground plane area. This was us saying to the client, you should have pizza ovens. You should have gardens that you can actually eat from, that grow vegetables and fruit. This was about finding a way to bring the community together. And so, yes, we could do that as ideas for the built form environment and for the landscape architecture, but we needed to actually illustrate that in the CGI as well. And you can only do that when you're actually thinking about the ideas and the creativity of a marketing campaign and the built form and a lived experience, and actually have the ability to illustrate that with these images. And actually carrying those ideas even through to the kind of internal living environment, bringing that red to life, bringing that sort of Italian culture, that idiosyncrasy. And then actually what we also start to do is think about, how do we actually look at these unique campaign concepts? What is it we can do that actually enables us to bring to life that sort of personality, the idiosyncrasy of architecture, but the unique attributes of a community and a neighbourhood. So this particular one for Clifton and Central in Perth is a great example of that. This little heritage component of the old deli on the corner, these shop top residences where the sort of, small businesses operate along the street but you can live above them, the activation of this little neighbourhood centre, the beauty of these sort of bespoke little businesses, whether they're bike shops or florists or gift stores or bookstores, but parts of your local community, parts of what it makes to be meaningfully living somewhere that connects to how you want to live. This little one for Fiducia, called Harriet in Neutral Bay, is a great example of really bringing a look and feel to life. These incredible interiors and fantastic architecture from what is a groundbreaking architecture, interiors and development firm. So this is a great example of looking at the kind of colour of the campaign, which was green, but thinking very much about the rich landscapes and integrating those things together. So there was kind of permeability between the tonality of the marketing, but also the interiors and the materiality of the lived environment. This one for Landmark, New Hope and VMIG, is a good example of being inspired by the architecture, and what their core theme was about sort of Sydney, about that sort of central element of New South Wales, these sort of natural attributes that we could actually imbue into the CGI. Again, they go back to this idea of storytelling, that kind of connection between the built environment and the amenity that exists in this incredible development, and that kind of integrated feeling that you have, not just being a part of the development, but being part of Sydney itself. And then you start to see how that comes to life, not just in regard to the applications and the imagery, but very specifically, the advertising, the media, the marketing. This next one for CBUS and 111 Castlereagh Street is a great example of actually bringing the city to life. That connectedness between the building, the green spaces, the views, the incredible amenity that exists in this groundbreaking development by architect FJMT for their client CBUS. This is groundbreaking architecture in an incredible location in inner Sydney, where you really get to sense why this is a residential solution at the actual top of its field in terms of, the sort of architecture and interiors you can expect by this leading organisation. And then we look at Milligan, the example of commercial office workplace, and what it means to have this kind of campus in a place like Pyrmont by an incredible developer like Milligan, where you get to kind of feel the sense of these atriums and these different typologies of workspace environment. But also you get to have fun with CGI. We want to actually take people on a journey, but we want to engage them and actually entertain them. And so the idea that you could actually cut a piece out of the sidewalk or cut a piece out of a park and actually amplify and emphasize some of these core attributes of what actually make a development like this so compelling to their audiences. And then finally, one of the most important things is, how do we create visions for places that haven't even been designed? These are one of the things that we think that at Hoyne we do unlike anywhere else, that we actually figure out a way to bring to life places that are yet to be designed. This incredible development with Intrapac, which we called Kinley, in the outer suburbs of Melbourne, here you see the site, a massive hole in the ground. But as we start to visualise how that larger master plan will come to life in future, we look at some of the existing industrial elements that are no longer used, but how we've actually ideated what they could become in terms of F&B, destination, placemaking. These are perfect examples of how CGI can be inventive, how it can go beyond the brief, and how we can do things that people don't expect. Because like this landscape architecture on this beautiful CGI, these spaces are indicative of what we believe could be produced in future. And then we can even take it and be playful, thinking about the postcode that we will have in Melbourne's most eastern new suburb, hence the big letter E under construction. So looking at a city like Maroochydore in Queensland and how that's going through incredible rejuvenation with $4 billion of investment over the next decade or so to come. And we see the photo of the air of this site and then the built form of what it will be, in that future period. Now, this was done with no architecture, and funnily enough, the first time we did it, the client asked us to redo it because we made the buildings too pretty. And they said, we don't want to overcommit yet because we don't know what it's going to be. And this is the true form of illustrating this idea of artist impression, where we were showing a whole township in terms of what it can become with this incredible investment from both state government, local government, and private enterprise. And so we start to see this idea of a canal early in construction, but then what it will be when you start to have F&B, commercial, residential, conference centres and hotels brought to life, day and night. And then for the same project, the logo is not just a sort of static thing, it's an idea. It's this idea of an M that can actually come to life in 3D form, in different looks and feels, in different fonts and different flavours. And it's a great example of that integration between 3D design, branding, and stills photography. And so the final one is for JCU up in Townsville. And what I love about this is that we did the whole identity, we did the whole look and feel and the marketing, but then we said, well, wouldn't it be great if you actually took that identity and brought it to life as a little playground for children? And this is a perfect example of going beyond. This is the perfect example of where CGI can do more, because it wasn't just about us illustrating the campus and the buildings and the interiors, but about saying there's something more that can be done with a sense of flavour that adds value to community, that actually has a sense of personality and isn't just a cookie cutter of what you've already seen before. And this is why image making is not just computer generated images and graphics. This is why this style of image making is compelling, differentiated, desirable, and actually enables people to see the potential of what it is that we all do collaboratively with placemaking, branding, marketing, and these truly incredible images that actually illustrate that future. Thanks for listening.